So in the last session, we had a discussion about the different types of distances, right? We spoke about Manhattan distance, Euclidean distance. We spoke about cosine similarity and cosine distances, right? Today, we are going to talk about some of the topics which are again related to KNN because KNN works on the distances, right? So we that is what we understood from the previous discussion. So now what we want to do is we want to see the effectiveness of KNN algorithm. How effective is that? Now, how to find the effectiveness of this particular algorithm, or per se, I can say how I can find the effectiveness of any of the classification algorithm. That is also we can say in that concept, right? So let's see. Let's say this is my data set. Let's assume that my requirement is that I want to know whether my customer is gonna get a loan or not. It's a classification problem, typical classification problem, where I have to predict my yi, where yi belongs to 0 comma 1, right? Where 0 is negative, that means he is not gonna get the loan, and 1 means positive, where he will get the loan, right? That is what the understanding is. Based on these xi's, these are my xi's, right? These are my xi's, which belongs to obviously the real number with d. That here d is nothing but 4, right? Because obviously we will convert this data to also the numbers, right? We'll do the encoding, which we will discuss in the later point, but we will convert this to numbers as well. So these are like my inputs, or I can say the xi's, and this is my yi's. Now basically we have a vector. If I go and talk about in terms of vector, so we have a vector, right? We have a vector which consists of xi, or I can say xi transpose, right? And I have its corresponding yi as well. I have the corresponding yi as well. And this is what you can see here also. I have these xi's, and this is my xi. This is one of the records. Let's say this is one of the records, and I have the corresponding yi as well for this record, right? Now, how to find the effectiveness of this particular algorithm? What we normally do is that this is let's assume that this is my entire data set, right? Let's say as of now 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 records are there, right? But let's assume that we have more number of records. This is just a few of the records which are able to see, which we are able to see. But let's assume that this is my entire data set on which we have to create the model. What we will do is I will split this data into two. Basically, this is my dn, this is my data n, this is my entire data. Now what I will do is I'll split this data into dt, that is, or I can say d train, and second is d test. I'll split the data into train and test. And now my requirement is that what I will do is from this train data set, here I am using this data. So let's assume that I already break the data. Here is my data set, right? So I break the data again. I split the data. Basically I split the data randomly. I split the data randomly. It's a random split. Here few records are there, which is, let's assume that is my 70% of the records, and this is my 30% of the records, right? This is my 30% of the records. This again, percentage can change based on the requirement. Normally we have 70-30, or we have 75-25, we have 80-20, right? Sometimes we go with 85-15 also. So that is how we split the data. So 70%, 75%, or 80%, 85% is my train data. I need more data on the train. For training I need more data, and for testing I am okay with this percentages of data, right? So here I splitted the data into this is my train data set and this is my test data set. Now what I am doing is that from this data, right? This is my, let's assume that this is my train data. This is my train data. and this is my, let me use a different color. This is my test data, right? Now what I will do is that from this trained data, we will create a model using obviously the k nearest neighbor algorithm, and then we will going to get the model. Basically we'll get the model, and from that model, let's say this is my model, this data I will pass here, and I will get some predictions, right? I'll get some predictions. Now here I already know the yi's, right? Here I already know the yi's, I already know this status. But as I created the model using this trained data, on that model, on that, let me use the different color. So on that model, I am going to pass this data set, and I will get some output from that model, right? I'll get some output from that model, and that output I will compare with my original data set, right? That output I will compare from the original data set. So again, if I go little bit of into the mathematical format, basically what we want to do, the model is created, model is created the model is created using dtrain, right? The model is created using dtrain. Now my aim is that I, at the end, like, what is my final ultimate aim? My final ultimate aim is that suppose I have a new customer which is not there in the train data, which is also not there in test data. It's a new customer altogether, right? Based on the features of that customers, I want to predict, will I give him or her the loan or not, right? Will I give her the loan or not? That is what my aim is. That is what the purpose of this entire model building. So basically, given a data, given a data xq, which is the query point, basically it's a query point. I want to know what is the polarity. It is known as polarity, whether I will be positive or negative, whether he will get a loan or he will not get a loan. I want to find the polarity. So basically xq is given, I want to predict yq, right? That is what the ultimate aim is. So basically, if I come back to this data set, I have this data set on which I am creating the model. I have this data set on which I am testing the model. But in future, I will get a new record altogether where I don't know about this output. My model's task will be to predict the output based on the model which we have created using the trained data. So my aim is that I want to find how well the model is performing. I want to measure, how well the model is performing. Right? That is what my task is. Now, if I say, let's say, basically how KNN works. So KNN works like, I am using my D-train data, right? Where I'm actually finding the distances, right? I'm finding the neighbors. I'm finding the nearest neighbors from this D-train data. And based on the majority vote, we are deciding whether it will be positive or it will be negative, whether he will get a loan or not. or in the last example, whether he will go with a scooter or by bicycle, right? Now, what we are doing, we already had a discussion, but again, as a matrix form. So D is my data set, which consists of all the xi's, right? It consists of all the xi's, 1, 2, 3, and n. I have various x1, x2, xn, right? And I have a yi, corresponding yi for that, yi. I will split this data, I will break the data into two parts, that is training data set and testing data set, where dtrain union dtest is nothing but dn. When I'm unioning this data, dtrain union dtest is nothing but dn. Same way, dtrain intersection dtest is nothing but null. It's nothing but null. That means there should not be any overlap between the data. If one record is present here, should not be present here, right? There will not be any matching records. Let's assume that dtrain consists of n1 records and dtest consists of n2 records, and total records are n. So n1 plus n2 will be n, right? n1 plus n2 will be n. And as I mentioned, this split will be a random split. There are other ways also to do the splitting, but as of now, we are talking about the random split. Now, after that, so once the data is splitted, I have dtrain, which consists of xi's and yi's, where I belongs to 1 to n1. From here, I will train the model. I'll train the KNN model, right? Using the train data. Train the model using train data. And then we will have the test data, which is again xi's and yi's, which consists of y equal to 1 to n2. We will test the KNN model using test data. Right? But now the question which we already asked at the start of the class, how will I find the effectiveness of the model, effectiveness of the KNN model? Let's assume that we have this train data. Again, this is very, very critical to understand. We have this train data. Let's say this is my train data. These are my train data here. This is my train data. Right? On this train data, what we did was we created the model. This is my train data. We created the model. Now, once we are done with the model, what we will do is we will take the test data. We will take the test data, where each point that is xi, which is present in d test data, right? Which is, I can also show it as xi yi, where I is equal to 1 to n2, right? Because n2 records are there in the test data. Basically, if I come here and talk about this, this is my N1, this is my N1 records, this is my N2 records, where N1 plus N2 is equal to N, total number of records. Sum of this is total number of records. So I created the model on this data set. And what I will do is I will take one record at a time from this data set, like just for the intuition point of view, but in real time it will take all the data set all together. But as of now, let's assume that I'm taking, I have the model which is created here. I will take this record, I'll pass it in the model, I'll get some output. I'll take this record, I'll pass it in the model, I'll get some output. I'll take this record, pass it here, I'll get some output. Right? This is how the cycle will go on. So I will take each point which is xi from the d test, right, where this xi will be acting as a query point, right? So xq is equal to xi, where xi belongs to d test, right? Now what I will do is, for each point in d test, let's say xq is equal to each point x1, x2, xn2, right? I'm talking about d test, so n2 records are there, xn till xn2. I will take these points one by one. I will use dtrain and the model which I created to predict YQ, right? Because I created this model on top of this data, train data. So when I get the data from test, I will use this data and the model to understand where this point belongs to, whether he will get a loan or not in the data which we have. And let's say we set a counter equal to count equal to 0. So if YQ, which the model is predicting, is equal to Y1, or this for the first record. For the second record, if YQ is equal to Y2. For the third record, YQ equal to Y3, right? One by one. If this is matching, then increment the count. Count equal to count plus 1. And if it is not matching, increment will not happen, right? For example, if I go to this data set, and let's say I am passing, this is my model, I am passing this guy and I am getting the output as Y. So my output is Y, that is yes, right? So here my YQ is nothing but yes. And what is my Y1? Y1 is also yes. So for this guy, it is actually yes, and my model is also saying yes. So that means YQ is equal to Y1. Then I will say count equal to 1. So that means one record meet the output also, same as the model's output. Let's go and take the second record, female. I'll pass it here in the model. Let's say I'm getting yes also. Now here my YQ is yes, but my Y2 is no. So this is not meeting. The output is not matching. So this count will not increase. Same way for the third record. Let's say it is meeting. It is again not meeting. So YQ is equal to Y. N, and my Y3 is equal to N. Y3 is equal to N. No, Y3 is Y, right? Sorry. So for the first record, it is meeting the criteria, Y. For the second record, it is not meeting the criteria, and the output which we are getting is Y, right? The output which, and the original data is N. So this is my YQ, this is my YI. For the third record, again, my YI is Y, but my model is saying no. And my fourth record is again N. My model is saying N, and my actual data is also N. So I did 4 times. Here the the records are meeting, the YQ is same as YI, so my counter will be 1. Here my counter will not increase, so my counter will still be 1 because it will not add this value. Here also it will still be 1, and here it will become 2 because this is the match and this is the match. So out of 4 records, 2 are matching. So my model accuracy is nothing but 50%, right? Same thing here also I am doing. So if YQ is equal to YI, then I'll do the count, and then my number of points for which the D train data plus KNN gives me correct class label, right? Correct class label for D test. That is what we are doing. From the train data and the model which we are creating, I am passing the test data, and if it will give me correct class label, that is what I am counting here, right? That is my number of count, and that count upon N2, because in the test data we have 4 records, that is N2. Total correct predictions are 2, so my accuracy is how much? 2 by N2, that is 4, that is 50%. So out of 4 records, only 2 are matching. So my accuracy in this data set, let's assume in this algorithm, is 50%. So if I write it properly, so my accuracy is nothing but the total count which we are getting from that loop upon N2, where N2 is nothing but number of data points in D test, and count is nothing but number of points for which my D train plus KNN algorithm gives me the correct response, and that is nothing but my accuracy. And now from here you can understand, right? My count will never go more than N1. More than N2. My count will never go more than N2. And it can be 0. Let's say all the predictions are wrong. So it can be 0. So basically my accuracy is varying from 0 to 1. So let's assume that in this data set, in this whole data set, we applied the model, and let's say I got 91% accuracy. Let's assume that, right? Let's say there are 1000 records, and then I split into test and train, and then on train data we create the model, and then on test data we test the model. The accuracy which I am getting is 91%. So basically on the D test data, 91% records, the label which I am getting YQ is actually same as YI. Let's say if there are 100 records in the D test, 91 records are having the correct YQ, which is same as YI. So I can conclude that KNN, which we are using on the data, which we are using on the D train data, because we create the model using the train data, gives us the accuracy of 91% on D test data. Right? We are using D test data, right? So it is giving me 91% accuracy on the D test data. So basically, if I go back to the PPT, you can see that it is look like this. This type of table will be created at the end. As per the actual data, right? As per the actual data, this is again a critical concept. This matrix is known as confusion matrix. We'll discuss about that more in detail. So confusion matrix. Here, not eligible for loan, that means N. Eligible for loan, that means Y. Right? Let's assume that I have 100 records in my, or let's go with this so that there will not be any confusion. So if I go with this data only, I have 4 records, right? I have 4 records. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 records in my test data. I will use this data and create the confusion matrix, right? So here I have yn. There are 2 records which are going to get the loan. There are 2 records which are going to not get the loan, right? Not eligible for the loan. So if I go back and create a confusion matrix, let's assume that actual data is what? 2 are saying that I will get the loan. For 2 customers, I'll get the loan, and for 2 customers, I'm not getting the loan. So as per my actual data, how many are eligible for the loan? 2. How many are not eligible for the loan? 2. I'll put this number aside as of now, right? And as per my model, let's say that there are 2 correct answers, basically, right? There are 2 correct answers. What are my 2 correct answers? If I go back on this, here, if you remember, I told that this is Y, and as per my model also Y. This is as per my model, it is giving me Y. This is as per my model giving me no, and this is as per my model giving me no. So there are 2 correct answers, this and this, right? So when I am saying that this is correct and this is correct, how will I represent that in the confusion matrix? How will I show that in the confusion matrix? Let me put that in this next page. So yn, ny, nn, right? So here we already have. So we will just put yn, ny, nn, right? That is what my, oh, this is my original, actual, right? This is my actual data, and this is my predicted data. So as per actual, 2 are getting the loan, 2 are not getting the loan. So as per actual, how many are eligible for the loan? How many are eligible for the loan? Sorry, this one, 2. How many are not eligible for the loan? 2. Okay. As per predicted, how many are getting the loan? So here 1, 2 are getting the loan, and 2 are not getting the loan. So I'll put here 2 are getting the loan, 2 are not getting the loan. But there is a problem. There is a guy which is matching here. So what we have to do is, in this 2, this guy is getting the loan, this guy is getting the loan. So that means if I say getting the loan, I will go here and remove this, and I will put, let me use some other number. So I'll put 1, 1. That is like one set of pair. Like this is one pair, right? Which is getting the loan, and I am also getting the loan. As per the actual data, also getting the loan. As per the predicted data, also getting the loan. So I'm putting it here for now. I'm trying to create this confusion matrix basically. If I go here, no, he is not getting the loan, he is not getting the loan, as per both. So I will remove this part, and I will put 1, 1. That means one pair is getting the loan as per the actual data, one pair is getting the loan as per one pair is not getting the loan as per actual data. So basically, can I say I will put number here as 1, and here also 1, 1, 1. Because as per my actual data, how many are not getting the loan? 2. But as per my model, how many are matching with that, only one, which is this one. Same way here also, eligible 2 as per my actual data, but how many are matching with the predicted? I will say actually this part, not this part. This part. This part will be 1, right? Eligible as per the model, eligible as per the actual. Which one is that? This one? Eligible as, not eligible as per the model. Not, sorry, this is my model. So not eligible as per the model, not eligible as per the actual. Which one is that? This one. So that I took care. 1 and 1. Now we are left with 2 records. Let's go with this record. As per my original, he is not getting the loan. As per my original, he is not getting the loan. But as per my model, it is eligible for the loan. That means 1 is here. As per the actual data, he is not getting the loan. But as per the predicted data, he is getting the loan. Same way here also, as per my original data, he is getting the loan. As per my original data, he is getting the loan. But as per the predicted data, he is not getting the loan. So I will put 1 here. So now if you count here, if I want to read what's the actual number from the actual data, you have to read row wise. 1 plus 1, 2. So basically, there are 2 people who are not eligible for the loan as per the actual data. There are 2 people who are eligible for the loan as per the actual data. Similarly, there are 2 people who are not eligible for the loan as per the predicted data. This 2. And as per the predicted data, 2 are eligible for the loan, which are these 2. These 2. But now matching one is how much? As per the actual and predicted, matching one is which one? This is diagonal part. This is as per the actual, not eligible, as per the predicted, not eligible. This is as per the eligible, as per the predicted, also eligible. So this diagonal part is correct. That is 1 plus 1, that is 2. Out of 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, that is 4. So my accuracy coming out to be 50%. And that is my confusion matrix, which is very, very important concept, because this gives me the understanding how my data is basically giving me the accuracy, how my model is giving me the accuracy on my data set. So always this value plus this value will be the correct values upon all values, upon sum of all values. All values. That will be my percentage accuracy. When we are creating a model, I am creating a model on the train data plus the model, right? I will use this on my test data, right? And then from this test data, I already know the yi's for my test data. I will just run my xi's on this data and the model, and I will get my yq's, right? I will get my yq's. And definitely there will be a chance that my yq's which I am getting is not same as yi's in some of the scenarios, right? As I mentioned in this table, small table which we have, this one. So here I told you that let's assume that my model is saying yes for this guy, and actual also it is yes. That means this is correct. Here my model is saying yes, but actual is no. That means this is wrong. This is wrong. This is correct. Here my model is saying no, but actual is yes. So this is again wrong. Here my model is saying no, actual is also no. So that is correct. So basically out of 4 YQs which I am predicting from 4 YIs, right, Y1, Y2, Y3, Y4, I am getting 2 which are correct out of 4. That is 50% accuracy. But how will I put that in this matrix? So here I will read row by. So when I read this, this is my actual, this is my predicted. This is my predicted. And let's say this is as per the prediction N, as per the actual N, as per the actual Y, as per the predicted Y. And what do you want to do? You just have to put these values here. How many Y's and Y's both are correct? Only one. So how many Y's and Y's both are correct? Only one. How many N's and N's both are correct? Only one. So I'll put here one. How many we have Yn? That means actual it is no, but predicted is Y. Actual it is no, but predicted is Y. That is 1. And same way, Ny. Actual it is Y, predicted is no. Actual it is Y, but predicted is no. So we are getting this confusion matrix. Now out of that, how many are correct? No, no, that is 1. This is correct. Yes, yes, that is 1. This is correct. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Out of 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 50% accuracy. So that is how we can create the confusion matrix. Now, what is the limitations of KNN? Now, one of the biggest limitation we have in the K nearest neighbor is that time and the computation, or I can say the time and the space. How this is gonna be the limitation? Let's see. Let's understand that. That is the biggest problem for KNN. That's why people normally don't go ahead with this algorithm until unless the data is less. Think logically. Let's say this is my data set. Okay, this is my data set. Let's think logically in this paper. I have a new guy. I want to predict his class, whether he is going to go to office by bike or by bicycle. Okay, bicycle. Now think logically. There are various data, right? I am not dealing with thousands record, 2000 records. Let's say I'm dealing with million records, right? Let's say I have 500K records, right? 500,000 records. Out of that, let's say 200,000 records are people who are actually in bicycling. 200,000 records are people who are actually going in bicycling, and 300,000 records are people who are going into bike. Now I want to know this guy, whether this guy gonna be using bicycle or gonna use bike. How K nearest neighbor works? K nearest neighbor checks the distances, right? Checks the distances. How many distance it will check? It will check 500,000 distances, right? That much of distances. And here, this is my number of records. Let's say N. This is my number of records. And let's say I have number of columns. Let's say 10 columns are there. So my D is nothing but 10. Right. So there are 10 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I have 50. This is my 1 to 10. And I have 50 or like 5,000 K records. This is my train data basically, because my train data should be more. When the train data is good, then obviously the model will be good, right? Because I'm actually learning from more data. So can I say that I will actually use this entire data set to do the calculation for this guy? Because I want to find the distance of this guy with all the records and obviously all the features as well. I'll take all the features. if I'm taking 10 features. So can I say I am actually using this entire data and putting that in the RAM? Because everything runs on the RAM, right? Let's assume that this data size is 20 GB. Let's assume that this is 20 GB. That means I require a machine of 20 GB RAM plus obviously some extra RAM size. Let's say I want a 40 GB RAM machine with just 10 columns, right? If I go ahead with the production environment, it can be 100,000 columns also, where I'm dealing with the images and whatnot, right? Then automatically this size will increase. So my computation, how many computations are happening? I can say 50, 500K into 10, because with the 10 dimension ND, basically ND, that much of computation is happening and that much of space is required. So automatically what will happen? It will be a time consuming process and also space consuming process as well, because I am making around 500K into 10, which is 5000K computations for one record, one query point, for one query point. So this will be a time consuming process, and that is the biggest problem we have for the K nearest neighbor. In the real world data science problem, machine learning problems, I cannot wait for minutes to get the output. At least for the companies like which are actually dependent on the internet, right? Like Amazon, Flipkart, those companies, they are actually looking for quick outcomes. If you go with KNN model and say, okay, you just pass the data, I will give you the output in 5 minutes. No one will wait for it. They will reject this algorithm. They will say, no, I cannot wait. And again, you are saying that you need 40 GB of RAM also. It's a cost for me. Why will I go with this? You come up with some other model or try to optimize this model. That again, there are some optimization techniques which will optimize little bit, but obviously not that great in KNN. But yes, we'll discuss that later on. But yeah, that is the problem we have. And if I go from, let's say this is the internet companies, if I go from internet to financial companies, this requirement was, let's say, 1 second, okay, or I can say 1 millisecond. Business wants the output in 1 millisecond. In finance companies or trading companies, this requirement will be 1 microsecond. I need more fast output in this finance industry. That means I need a low latency system. Low latency system. Low latency system for solving my problem. And that is not possible, looks like, from this algorithm. We can tune, but how much we can tune, right? So this is the biggest problem. In maybe the solutions like life sciences, in that case, I may go with KNN, right? Where I am not really very much like, one quick decision is not going to impact much on my output. In that case, I'm okay with that. For example, let's say I am doing a share marketing and I'm doing some share trading and I need some output, whether I will purchase this share or not, yes or no, right? At the price of, let's say, 97 rupees. Now my system is taking 5 minutes to give me the output. By that time, the price is going to 120. I lost already 23 rupees, right? And suppose I'm purchasing 1 lakh shares, then it's a big loss for me. You must have understand the impact. But let's say if I'm using my life sciences industry, like where I want to give some medicine to the patient, right? Or I want to know whether he is gonna get the not critical disease, maybe he is gonna get the cough or not. I can pass my KNN algorithm and I'll get the output. Okay, I'm getting the output in, let's say, 2-3 minutes. I'm okay with that because patient can wait till that point in time. I can analyze that patient. I can try to understand the patient history and all those things. By that time, I'll get the output. So at that point, it's not very critical for me to give me the output in a quick time. So in that case, I may go with KNN algorithm because that is okay with me. I'm okay to wait for some time, right? So that is the biggest limitation which we have in this KNN algorithm. That is why it is selective. When you want the output which is quick, in that case, I may not go with KNN algorithm. But when I think that yes, I need the output quickly, in that case, I will have to go with like when I want the quick output, I will not go with KNN. But if I am okay with the output where I will wait for a few minutes, then in that case, I may go with KNN also. But this algorithm is very simple for understanding. But the worst part, or I can say the worst problem which we have in the real time problem is that the performance. The performance of this algorithm is very slow. You must have understand, right? If I am dealing with 500,000 rows and 100,000 columns, it's a huge space. Let's say this 50 GB data. I need 50 GB data of RAM at least, plus other processes are also running on the machine. So extra RAM for that. So let's say I want 75 GB RAM. It's a big task. It's a big cost for me. And obviously the time consumption is different. If you want more faster, I have to increase my hardware size, make it more robust, more powerful, then I may get the faster output. But that will be a cost again for me. So that is the limitation which we have for KNN. But as I mentioned, it is specific where to use. If I'm okay with high latency, I can go with this algorithm. So sometimes people ask that why we will not go with nearest neighbor directly, right? Let's assume there's a guy and we have two categories, right? This is one category and this is another category. Now I want to, if people say that, okay, find the nearest neighbor, but how will I find the nearest neighbor? I have to count the distance, right? I cannot say, okay, you are the nearest, you are the nearest. I have to count the distance from all, and then I will able to find, okay, these 5 are the nearest, right? So I have to count all the distances. Without that, I will not able to find which are my 5 nearest neighbors. That is why this is a time consuming process when the data is huge. That is the biggest problem. But again, it's an amazing algorithm. If I am okay with high latency, I can go with that.